across the situation where you see a tree and you know deep down that that branch or that part of the tree is about ready to break. So what is it that gives me a clue as to why a branch is ready to break? Well, a lot of things. Let me show you. Well, first off, let's talk about the tree that I'm talking about, which is a fairly large oak tree. It's a Quercus agrifolia. It's a coast live oak, and it is a fairly significant amount of weight. The limb that I'm really concerned about is this one right here. And let me show you why. If you follow this limb all the way out to the very ends, you can notice that right up in through here, this tree was cut back at one time and it sprouted out in doubles and triples. So this long limb right here is exhibiting a lot more end weight than it would normally. So part of the problem is directly associated with past pruning or past limb breakage and the way the tree has responded to it. Second off, when I look at the lower portion of this trunk, I can see a bulge down here, which to me tells me that it's been pushing and stressing and relaxing and stressing and relaxing. And the way it's bulging right here is an indicator that something's going on. Another factor that's really important is this is the summertime, and limbs more often than not break in the heat of the summer, as well as the fact that this tree is just laden with green acorns. So way up and through there, because you've got multiples now, you have an increase in the number of acorns being produced. So all that additional weight is compounded all the way out on the very, very ends of this branch. And if I look at it from this perspective, I also see something else that concerns me right there. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. Not too clear. I can see what appears to be an area where there was an old wound up above, and it seems to be bending a little bit there. So all these factors are just pointing to a particular possibility. So I'm going to get up there and do some weight reduction. We got my small bucket here, so shouldn't be too bad of a job. But if I can get 400 or 500 pounds off of the very ends of this branch, that will greatly reduce the strain and hopefully prevent a problem. And to make matters worse, a limb broke off somewhere up there and hit the roof, which was just another way of saying something's going on with this tree. So I'm going to go up there and do some weight reduction. Okay, here's that branch on the ground. I pulled it off the roof. And I want you to take close observation on the high volume of acorn production. They're all green. They're not even full size yet, but look at the volume of weight on this branch. And it's all out on the very, very tips. All right, from this perspective up in the tree, it's pretty easy to see that there was an old cut over there, about a 6 or 7 inch diameter cut. And the new growth that came off of that cut is 1, 2, 3, 4 large pieces that have gone really high. So the amount of acorn production on that branch is likely 4 times as much as it would have been if it had never been cut. So sometimes pruning leads to long-term problems that you've got to pay attention to. So I got to get a lot of weight off on this side. Okay, I took a fair amount off. I took some off over here, some off over here. I still got to get way up high there, but unfortunately my bucket doesn't reach quite that high. And you can see more clearly that mass over on that side where there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches that are resulting from a past cut in that area. So that's potentially a big problem. Because there's a fence and some plants down here, I think I'm going to wait till the guys are out here because I got to rope this stuff down. This is the amount of brush that I just took off. It's pretty heavy. It's the the acorns really increased the end weight on this. So I think this pile right here is probably about 600 pounds, and that one by itself is about 150 pounds. That one's really laden. So better, but not done. Some beautiful trees around here with some potential nightmare problems. Maybe you guys remember this from years past. We've got this long limb right here that's being supported by this pine. Well, I'm going to go up there. I got the ladder there. Let me go up there and show it to you. There's a better overview of the whole situation. So I blew off the roof to better determine if there was any punctures in the roof from that limb that fell over there. And fortunately, I didn't see any problems. But at the same time, I took a few minutes and blew off the base of this tree. You know, a blower is really a good tool to use to help determine basal crown rot and how bad a tree is, because you can blow off all the debris and you can get to a point where, you know, this is still going to need some further excavating because there's a lot in here. I'm sure it's going to go straight down to ground level, but what you find in here is going to give you a better idea of just how bad it is. And if this is all excavated out and pulled out of there, you may find an area of compromise underneath this that goes into the main body of the trunk. So unless you look, unless you take the time to really thoroughly inspect the tree, you don't know just how bad it is. It's just an educated guess. So I took the blower and blew off all the way around this tree as well. And fortunately, I could not see anything that jumped out at me, but it does feel like the dirt is a little bit high on this side, which I believe if we excavated down there, we're going to find that this tree has been leaning its whole life. It's kind of shifting into the ground over on this side. I don't think the soil has raised as much as this thing has kind of bent over, and that's probably over the last 40 or 50 years. But dirt and trunk wood do not mix. Root wood is okay, but trunk wood, you're going to end up with some basal crown rot and compromised areas. So after a thorough excavation here, you'll better be able to determine if there's any compromise that breaks through that bark barrier and goes into the main body of the trunk. And everything that you find helps you to determine the structural integrity of the tree, but also physical weaknesses, areas of decay, how bad it is. Sometimes it's just an educated guess. I know this guy's got a lot of problems, and it is big. So if and when, I shouldn't say if, when this tree goes down, unfortunately it's going to take out this tree as well. And what a mess that will be. Hopefully not for a long time, but it's anybody's guess. The more you identify, the more you're able to determine how much weight you should presumably take off to minimize the strain on this tree. It's been 5 or 6 years since we did any weight reduction up here. We did do, we brought the big bucket up here years ago, and we took off a lot of weight as far as we could in terms of the stuff that was way out there. And we made it better, but it seems like it's been filling in for quite a while. And really there's nothing you can do about wood weight. You can take end weight off and brush weight off, and that helps. But the wood weight, sometimes you have to make some decisions and do something pretty dramatic. For instance, if we found that this was more compromised than I believe, we might want to take something really significant out there to reduce the strain on it. But I can't even suggest anything like that unless I find a problem. Always back up your decisions with evidence of the reason and the justification why you're taking off something large. Now this old wound right here tells me that there may be some compromise that goes all the way through the center of the trunk here. A long time ago, something ripped off there. Yep.